Bhakdar's 1 vs. Mini class and Tirna Nog. What is the biggest weakness of being alone versus many opponents?
More weapons versus one weapon?
More weapons versus one weapon. Specifically, that gets down to you're vulnerable to attack from many angles at once. I'm outnumbered, so what? Well, what do you need to have? You need to have a plan, and you need to be able to act fast. So the intent of this course is to have a game plan in mind when I'm singled out and know how to implement it. Step 1 is awareness of the field. As soon as you notice that you may be the last up, or it's you versus many, it's me versus everyone, take a quick field scan as I'm doing that back pedal and look around. First, get your bearings. Where is everyone? Where do I not want to go that I'm going to get wrapped up? Right? Now, look slightly down. Take your gaze and almost let it be a little lazy. Look at about 20 to 30 degrees down in front of you and start with your fingers forward. Physiologically, people have an advantage that when they're looking slightly downwards, your peripheral vision slightly expands. So you see a fighter who's actually got their eyes not straight on their target, but they're slightly down in front of them. That's one, it's gonna see all the foot motion coming after you, and you can still have awareness of wherever your actual kill zones would be, around a shoulder zone or a hip zone. So you're expanding to be able to intake as much information about as many of your opponents as possible. Let's get to the most advantageous place possible. How do we actually do that? Is lateral movement. We think our movement has to start to become side to side. So as long as you can keep moving in a circle around people, you have an infinite space to run away. I want to demonstrate that real quick. Can I get a volunteer? So as long as Dag keeps pressing on my outside, as long as I sidestep away from my outside, I can move forever. Make sense? That's what lateral movement is. Our instinct is often to backpedal, right? As soon as we catch ourselves going back, immediately start thinking about that sideways gallop. For controlling range, I advocate people to hold their guard up, out, away from them slightly, high. Your weapon is actually low. Your weapon tip is high, facing an opponent's chest to head region. Can I get a volunteer opponent? Essentially trying to do is have something for him to work through to get past before he gets to my range. Okay, so instead of holding my guard close, or especially if there's two opponents, if I'm holding my guard just kind of casually and close to my body, they're hitting me on both angles, right? The more I have my stuff up and out, you guys see how I'm widening. What I'm trying to do is widen the arc of my bubble. I'm trying to widen the bubble that is difficult for them to enter into. Okay? So it's physiologically disconcerting. I saw you blink about 3 times.
Yeah.
To try and advance when my weapon tip is in her face, right? So ideally, I'm keeping at range. I'm choosing a side to go to, and keep moving to that side while I keep them at range. Does that make sense? I'm always on the move, and I'm always sidestepping as I'm attacking. I never want to pause, square up, throw an exchange, and then move again. I never, ever, ever can do that. I gotta stay on the balls of my feet, and whenever I throw a strike, it's gotta be slide stepping myself to get away from someone else or get further towards the target I wanna hit. When you're outnumbered, who's throwing most of the shots in the battle?
By ratio, they are.
Typically the dominant team in numbers, right? They have the freedom and flexibility to be more aggressive. They're gonna be throwing more shots. You don't wanna throw shots until it's the safest and you have the most likely chance of hitting someone. Let them swing first. I almost would never want to throw direct shots at my opponent, and what I mean by that is I probably want to use a lot of feints feints and body stutters catch my opponents off guard or stutter how fast they're coming after me. It's also the first time that I throw any kind of expected shot. If my opponent is waiting to counterswing me, I'm really boned. I'm not just gonna take one step and throw a rap at Aisling. That's never gonna be my first move. I'm asking to get my arm chopped off by both of you very soon, right? So if I go for the most obvious, just directly to the most obvious, I wanna kill, or I wanna kill, if I don't get there, my arm's probably gone, and then I'm probably gone. So in a situation like this, there's some shots that I would be very unlikely to throw. One of which would be, the first of which might be what? Audience, have any suggestions, things that's really risky for me to throw against this 2-on-1?
Inside Aisling?
Yeah, a high cross to a fish or inside between them, right? Because anytime I'm crossing my body further to get to a target, the more they have pincers on my hips or my shoulders. I'm exposing more of my body area to them. Ideally, I'm probably the safest zones are that gallop to an outside or gallop to an inside. If they really want to keep throwing crosses at me, maybe I could have a chance to lure a far inside. Ideally, I want you guys to swing first, so I have the most chance of getting a safe shot, right? So immediately when I see myself in this situation, step one, I'm probably trying to gallop to one side. Step two, even holding my arm out in this thing that's keeping you at range, pointing my weapon tip towards your face, I can go ahead and drift my arm up a bit. I want you guys to swing for my arm. Why? It's the furthest thing away from my torso. I don't want to die. I'm fine with you swinging at my arm. You guys both swing at my arm, I pull it right back to my shield edge, and then pick one of you guys to slide to while you're extended. So even this range control maneuver of keeping my guard out, you guys start to attack, I draw in and choose something to swing at. I draw in and choose something to swing at. Draw in, draw in, draw in, and control the fight. The other maneuvers that you can do to bait, along with that weapon tip towards the face zone, so you can push a shield, which literally keeps people a bit at bay, and it encourages you guys to swing first. Also, finally, the other thing with that range control maneuver, and this weapon tip up in front of the face does, is my guard is up, you guys are inclined to swing high at me. Yeah? The more my guard's lifted, you think my target is out here in front of me. If I get legged, multiple versus me, I'm probably gonna die. I get boned, because now you guys have whatever angles you need against me, correct? Yeah. So that's the other advantage of lifting my guard up and out and trying to keep my bubble high, is I want you guys to swing high. It's going to give me the most opportunity to hit shoulders or hips, kill zones on you guys. I'm in line for the quickest, most efficient torso kills that are stabs. From this, you guys are going to be running after me, right? So the second let's take 2 steps back. So I try and start by getting you guys at range. The second I get you guys to throw a shot, I stutter back, and I can throw stabs fairly safely. Yeah.